In August of 2022, 52-year-old Tina Frey and her 21-year-old daughter, Victoria Brimmer, were accused of abusing animals at their business in Lena, Louisiana. The Cypress Arrow Kennel and Canine Academy fell under investigation after police received complaints. Around the same time, a video that appeared to show Frey striking a cane corso dog went viral on social media, resulting in her arrest. Despite Frey's claims of innocence, prosecutors remained intent on moving forward with a criminal case against her. In the meantime, she was sued in civil court. Frey was also prosecuted for financial crimes relating to her business in November of 2023, resulting in a guilty plea and a 5-year probation sentence for theft of government funds. Following the theft conviction, prosecutors dropped the animal abuse case against Frey and Brimmer. Consequently, Brimmer walked free with no legal consequences. Number 15. Karen and Crystal Young. In July of 2014, 49-year-old Karen Young and her 23-year-old daughter, Crystal Young, landed in legal trouble following a disagreement with their neighbor in Fayetteville, Arkansas. According to police, the altercation began when the neighbor confronted Karen about her behavior towards the neighbor's children. Despite being asked to leave the property, the neighbor allegedly stayed put. Meanwhile, Karen was accused of blowing cigarette ash in the neighbor's face and physically assaulting her, while Crystal wielded a baseball bat in a threatening manner. Karen's son eventually intervened to de-escalate the situation and ensure the neighbor's safety, but the police nevertheless got involved. The Youngs were each charged with aggravated assault and endangering the welfare of a minor. They were held at the Washington County Detention Center pending bond hearings, but updates on the case have not been forthcoming. Number 14. Consuelo and Isabella. In April of 2024, 56-year-old Consuelo Dalbo and her 18-year-old daughter, Isabella Dalbo, were arrested for allegedly performing illegal butt injections during an undercover sting operation in Cypress, Texas, orchestrated by the Houston Police Department with help from the Federal Food and Drug Administration and Homeland Security. The raid unfolded at a temporary residence where the Dalbos purportedly administered the illicit injections while in town from California at a cost of $6,000 per procedure. Authorities made their entry at a time when the mother-daughter duo were anticipating the arrival of a client. During the operation, agents seized bags containing illegal injectables and medical equipment. Consuelo and Isabella Dalbo were arrested following the bust and now face charges related to unlawful medical practices. In addition to the illegal cosmetic procedures, the pair stand accused of trying to administer Xanax to an undercover officer posing as a client to help them relax before the injections. The pair were eventually released on bond, with their next court date set for April 10th of 2024. As of now, there are no further updates available on this story. Number 13. Dallas Love Field. In November of 2019, 41-year-old Bridget Deku Wilkins and 22-year-old Victoria Danae Wilkins of Los Angeles were apprehended at Dallas Love Field Airport while carrying over 60 pounds of marijuana in their luggage. Their arrest came after a detective at the airport noticed the scent of marijuana emanating from a bag that had arrived on the flight. A drug dog confirmed the presence of illegal substances, leading to the retrieval of the suspicious bag and 3 other pieces of luggage. The women were summoned to the baggage office where Bridget Wilkins confessed to carrying marijuana in her suitcase and consented to a search. During the search, law enforcement discovered meticulously packaged marijuana bundles in the women's luggage. The elaborate concealment involved double bagging, vacuum sealing, and camouflaging the contraband within clothing layers. Wilkins's backpack featured the insignia of the Los Angeles Police Department, a common tactic used by smugglers to avoid drawing suspicion. Following their arrest on suspicion of felony marijuana possession, the Wilkinses were detained at the Dallas County Jail but were later released upon posting a $5,000 bond each. Records revealed Bridget Wilkins's involvement in prior criminal activities, including a conviction for abandonment and neglect of children in 2006, and participation in Operation Fish Fry, a significant phishing scheme investigation resulting in wire and bank fraud conspiracy charges in 2009. Updates on the fate of the 2 women were not available. Number 12. Carla Thomas and Danielle Tolliver. just days before Christmas in 2023. 53-year-old Carla Thomas and her daughter, 33-year-old Danielle Tolliver, were accused of attacking and robbing a man in Daytona Beach, Florida. The victim encountered the pair while they were working on an SUV outside a motel and offered his help. At the women's request, he joined them in another vehicle to pick up a scooter. During the drive, the man fell asleep, only to wake up to the two women accusing him of stealing a phone. An altercation ensued, resulting in a man being physically assaulted, losing a tooth, and being stabbed before his phone was taken. He pleaded with the women to release him. Once out of the car, he asked the owner of a nearby home to call for help. He was taken to Halifax Health Medical Center for treatment. Carla Thomas was arrested and detained without bond after being identified as a suspect in a photo lineup. At this time, authorities are still searching for Danielle Tolliver, who faces charges of robbery, aggravated battery, and false imprisonment in connection with the incident. Number 11. Amber and Letitia Bennett. In July of 2018, 38-year-old Amber Bennett and 22-year-old Letitia Bennett were accused of advertising illegal pay-to-play services on the now-defunct Backpage website. Their arrests came after officials discovered the advertisement and tasked an undercover investigator with posing as an interested potential client. The undercover made plans to meet with Letitia at a Super 8 motel in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. During the meeting, the parties negotiated a deal, at which point the authorities arrested Letitia. Her mother, Amber Bennett, was found sitting on a staircase near the room. According to investigators, Amber helped Letitia set up dates, posted online ads, and served as a lookout during the encounters. Amber admitted to her involvement in the operation and to having marijuana in her possession. Additionally, authorities discovered an active warrant for Amber's arrest. The outcome of the case is unclear. Number 10. Jacqueline Fegan. In November of 2019, 46-year-old Christina Ferguson and her daughter, 24-year-old Jacqueline Syra Fegan, were arrested in Flint, Texas for allegedly stalking Jacqueline's husband's ex-girlfriend. The suspects were accused of creating and placing objects related to voodoo, witchcraft, and Satanism on the victim's property over a several-month period to cause distress. The items included a pentagram, voodoo dolls, and Latin curses, and featured symbols of horror, death, and destruction, leading the victim to fear for her safety. Surveillance footage supported the accusations, and the pair allegedly admitted to the crimes. The victim ended up in therapy, while the main perpetrator of the crime, Jacqueline, got 15 minutes of fame. An episode of the Netflix show I Am a Stalker was dedicated to her story, and many social media users were of the opinion that the punishment the two women received was excessive. Number 9. The school bus gunner and her mum's plea. In August of 2022, an unnamed 12-year-old girl in New Orleans exited her school bus, entered her home, and returned to the vehicle brandishing a gun. She tapped on the door of the bus with the weapon before her mother ran out of the home and disarmed her. Both the mother and daughter were arrested. They claimed that the girl had been the victim of bullying and had snapped after getting into a fight on the school bus. Following the incident, the mother took to social media after the fact to defend her daughter. She claimed that the girl's school, Achille Academy, did not do enough to stop the bullying, or else the situation would have never gone as far as it did. The mother was widely criticized for this viewpoint, with commenters calling her things like immature and delusional. On the flip side, a local voice on social media reached out to the family of the other girl involved, and her mother claimed that she did not condone bullying and her daughter was no bully. The daughter was charged with aggravated assault, while her mother faced charges of principal aggravated assault and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. She claimed that she did not know how her daughter got the gun and that it was not supposed to be in her possession. Updates on the case are not forthcoming, leaving the outcome of the case a mystery. Number 8. Laura Rose Carroll and Emily Rose Grover. A Florida school official named Laura Rose Carroll was arrested along with her daughter in March of 2021 following a scandal that made national headlines. The 50-year-old reportedly served as the assistant principal at Bellevue Elementary School in Pensacola and was therefore granted access to the district's student data system. The state's Department of Law Enforcement announced that Carroll had taken advantage of her position to rig her daughter's high school homecoming queen election. An arrest report detailed how both Carroll and her daughter, Emily Rose Grover, had taken part in the scheme. The two allegedly used the school district's student information system, called Focus, to cast fake votes for Grover in the popularity contest, which she ultimately won. Although it initially seemed as though their ploy had been successful, The election software flagged hundreds of votes as fraudulent, and Escambia County School District officials subsequently contacted law enforcement. The district's student council coordinator was also notified that witnesses had allegedly heard Grover talking about her and her mother's efforts to rig the election. An official investigation into the matter uncovered that Carol and Grover had cast a total of 246 fake votes in the latter's favor. It was also determined that Grover had exploited her mother's district-level access to the data system to view grades, medical records, and test scores for other students. In the wake of her arrest, the 17-year-old was immediately expelled from Tate High School, and it was also reported that Carol had been suspended from her position. Prosecutors stated that the mother and daughter each faced a maximum prison sentence of 16 years if convicted of their various criminal charges. Number 7. Tracy and Julia Bari. Police officers were dispatched to a bar in Destin, Florida, in response to reports that two women had gotten into a shouting match with employees in the early morning hours of April the 13th of 2018. The dispute's main instigators were identified as mother and daughter Tracy and Julia Bari, who worked together as local realtors. As was reported by the Northwest Florida Daily News, the two women had become agitated while the bartender was preparing their drinks and proceeded to yell at other employees that they were taking too long to serve them. As the mother and daughter were being removed from the establishment, they violently took out their frustration on multiple staff members. 24-year-old Julia reportedly struck one worker several times, causing visible discoloration to their face. Upon the arrival of law enforcement, Tracy and her daughter were placed in handcuffs, at which point they shifted their aggression towards the officers. An arrest report detailed how the 47-year-old mother had kicked one of the deputies in the leg. Once the suspects had been placed in the patrol car, they attempted to force their way out by kicking the window and gouging it with their steel cuffs, which reportedly left a number of deep scratches on the glass. In the end, the women were both charged with misdemeanor battery, while Tracy also received a felony charge of resisting an officer with violence. Number 6. Kathleen and Riley Wells. On the night of June the 6th of 2019, Florida woman Kathleen Wells and her daughter Riley were kicked out of a Claremont bar for causing a disturbance that resulted in one of their friends requiring hospitalization. The two women subsequently summoned a Lyft driver to take them home. When they arrived at their residence, however, the mother and daughter, aged 41 and 21 respectively, refused to exit the vehicle. Their obstinate behavior eventually subsided and they agreed to get out of the car, reportedly abandoning their possessions in the back seat. According to the Lyft driver's testimony, Kathleen and Riley immediately began arguing loudly with one another upon exiting the vehicle. The commotion soon caught the attention of some of their neighbors, one of whom contacted the police. By the time officers arrived at the scene, the two women had moved the row inside the house. Law enforcement came upon them screaming at each other amid crying children and other family members. The rest of the family eventually calmed down and went to bed at the officers' behest, but Kathleen and Riley continued to yell. Their refusal to cooperate with law enforcement and de-escalate the situation resulted in them being taken into custody and booked into the Lake County Jail. Number 5. Shelley Lynn Gemberlin and Alicia Nicole Scarduzio. In the afternoon of September the 19th of 2017, Emily Bailey was stopped at a traffic light near the intersection of Little Road and Trouble Creek Road in Newport Richey, Florida. As she waited for the light to turn green, mother and daughter Shelley Lynn Gemberlin and Alicia Nicole Scarduzio pulled up alongside her. The two parties became embroiled in a heated argument that was reportedly connected to an earlier traffic incident. Gemberlin and Scarduzio shouted a series of expletive-laden threats at Bailey before they eventually exited their vehicle and approached her open driver's side window. As was later corroborated by several eyewitnesses, Bailey told investigators that the two women had grabbed her by the hair and neck before pulling her out onto the street. They then proceeded to viciously beat her until she lost consciousness. Among other injuries, Bailey reportedly suffered a broken nose in the attack. After the local authorities had been alerted, the violent mother-daughter duo were arrested and charged with burglary and aggravated battery. Number 4. Xiomara and Jennifer Quintanilla. On the evening of February the 6th of 2017, Texas woman Xiomara Quintanilla and her daughter Jennifer attempted to walk out of a Target in North Harris County with a shopping cart full of unpaid merchandise. The women were stopped by a loss prevention officer who'd watched them push the loaded cart past the checkout counters without paying. Jennifer was detained by the officer without incident, but her mother reportedly began launching various items from the cart at Target employees. Subsequent reports detailed how Xiomara's rampage continued, with her approaching one of the store's officers and striking her in the face. She then fled to the parking lot but wasn't able to reach her car and leave the scene, as police officers had already arrived to take her and her daughter into custody. The two women were both charged with robbery and were booked into the Harris County Jail with a $10,000 bond. Number 3. Casey and Julie Garcia. A mother and daughter from Texas conspired to exploit the scant levels of security present on the campus of Garcia Enriquez Middle School in San Elizondo in June of 2021. As detailed by local police, Casey Garcia dyed her hair and used a skin tanner in an attempt to make herself look more like her daughter, Julie. The 30-year-old then went to the school and pretended to be Julie, using a mask to conceal most of her face. School district officials reported that Casey provided the campus's security guards with her daughter's unique ID number and signed her name in order to be allowed into the building. As the mother had captured in a video later posted to social media, she greeted various other students in the hallway and attended her daughter's classes throughout much of the day. It wasn't until one of the afternoon classes that the woman was finally noticed by staff, at which point she reportedly turned herself into the principal's office. Local authorities were notified of the situation, and following an investigation, 2 warrants were issued for Casey's arrest. The woman posted a video to YouTube in which she explained her rationale for the illegal stunt, claiming it was done as a social experiment to test the security at her daughter's school. Upon being taken into custody, she was charged with criminal trespass and tampering with government records. The superintendent of the San Elizondo Independent School District revealed that they'd be reviewing and revamping their security measures in light of the incident. Today's topic was requested by Callie Yopi. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Anne and Jennifer Dodge. In August of 2017, undercover police officers in Sarasota, Florida, staged a sting operation that targeted a mother and daughter suspected of running an unlicensed erotic massage parlor. Police officials detailed how 55-year-old Anne Dodge and her daughter Jennifer, aged 30, offered $120 massages online, which they performed in a carport set up outside their suburban home. The pair were also alleged to have provided escort services for an elevated fee of $200. An undercover officer responded to an ad that the 2 women had posted on Backpage.com. One of them gave the officer an unlicensed massage, at which point the authorities were authorized to conduct a raid on the residence. Investigators reportedly found massage tables, lotions, oils, and a towel steamer inside the house, and the 2 women were taken into custody. Anne maintained that she was a licensed massage therapist whom God had ordained to bring healing energy to her clients. Despite her claims of innocence, the mother was charged with 2 felony counts of unlicensed practice of a healthcare profession and 2 misdemeanor counts of operating a massage parlor without a license. Her daughter was charged in connection to the alleged escort services they were provided. When interviewed by the police, neighbors revealed that roughly 5 to 10 cars would come to the Dodges' residence on a daily basis, describing most of the visitors as older men. If these mother-daughter duos weren't crazy enough, then wait till you get a load of some hillbillies. We've got When Rednecks Go Wrong coming right up for you after number 1, so stay tuned. Number 1. Libby Adame and Alicia Galath. On October 15th of 2019, California woman Carissa Raj Paul died after undergoing a failed cosmetic surgical procedure. The 26-year-old's official cause of death was listed as homicide by acute cardiopulmonary dysfunction and intramuscular silicone injections. Local authorities identified the 2 individuals who carried out the surgery as the primary suspects in the murder investigation. It subsequently emerged that Libby Adame and Alicia Galath a mother and daughter from Los Angeles, had performed the procedure illegally inside their home. Investigators concluded that the two women, who'd allegedly presented themselves as qualified specialists, had injected Raj Paul with materials commonly used by cosmetic professionals. However, they'd mistakenly mixed them with dangerous chemicals, and the combination of substances proved fatal for Raj Paul, who authorities stated had come to the US from South Africa with the intention of pursuing a career in the adult film industry. Adame and Galath, aged 51 and 23 respectively, were both arrested in August of 2021 and charged with murder. They reportedly had their first appearance in court in February of 2022. On January the 10th of 2020, law enforcement in Rockcastle County, Kentucky, was called to a Pug Lane home by a resident who'd witnessed 38-year-old Melissa Wolk attacking her neighbor. Officers arrived in the area to find Wolk on top of 55-year-old Donald Abner. She was striking the man in the face while her pit bull, Denali, mauled him relentlessly. The police had to shoot the dog as they were unable to contain its aggression and were forced to incapacitate Wolk by use of a taser. The woman had refused to obey the officer's orders to stop and was heard repeatedly commanding Denali to attack Abner. Wolk had blood on her hands and feet, as well as a large clump of the victim's hair in her hand. Wolk subsequently admitted to officers at the scene that she was going redneck on Abner. The reason for their dispute remained unclear, and they were reported as being friends. Prior to the altercation breaking out, Abner passed away from his injuries, and he was determined to have suffered deep bites to his head and face. Updates from the fall of 2022 indicated that Wolk had accepted a guilty plea to murder in exchange for 20 years in prison. Number 6. Melvin Allen Cintron. Florida man Melvin Allen Cintron, aged 37, was arrested in September of 2023 for setting fire to a vehicle back in April of that same year. On April the 29th, the man was captured on CCTV igniting a Jaguar XE in front of a home along Northwest 120th Street and 5th Avenue, near North Miami. It was determined that the vehicle belonged to Cintron's girlfriend at the time, who was also his cousin. The unnamed woman initially lied to investigators by claiming that the vehicle had malfunctioned. Cintron reportedly forced her to put the cell phone on speaker whenever she spoke to the authorities about what had happened to her car. After a number of failed subsequent attempts to contact her, officers were eventually able to track the woman down and interview her without her boyfriend cousin present. She revealed that Cintron had torched her car in April and that she'd lied because she feared retaliation from the man who was known to always carry a fully automatic gun with a double-drum high-capacity magazine. The victim also told police that he'd stolen her purse, containing about $1,200 in cash, because he thought a bartender was flirting with her. After the theft, Cintron abandoned his cousin girlfriend and left her without a way home from a Miami shopping center. Cintron was subsequently taken into custody at gunpoint outside of a business east of Hialeah on charges of second-degree arson and third-degree grand theft. Number 5. Gretchen Wilson. Country singer Gretchen Wilson was arrested for breach of peace at Bradley International Airport in Connecticut on August 21st of 2018. Wilson, who'd won a Grammy in 2005 for her hit single Redneck Woman, was involved in what was described as a minor altercation with another passenger on a commercial flight coming in from Washington, D.C. The Tennessee native was flying first class and reportedly got into an argument which devolved into a shoving match with a passenger over priority in using the bathroom. In the aftermath, Wilson returned to her seat but reportedly continued the dispute through threats and hand gestures as she looked back down the aisle, in spite of flight staff telling her to stop. The 45-year-old was met on the tarmac by law enforcement and reportedly became belligerent and combative while she was questioned. Bystander cell phone video would show her being escorted through the airport in handcuffs. Wilson had caused a ruckus on another flight in 2007 and was issued an in-flight citation. During that incident, while she was reportedly inebriated, she insulted a flight attendant upon being asked to place her dog back in its traveling case. Number 4. Incident in Mississippi. The video of a brawl that occurred near Jackson, Mississippi went viral in the summer of 2023, showing three men reportedly arguing over a stolen all-terrain vehicle. None of the men in the clip were identified, but the man demanding his ATV back had initiated the confrontation on the property of his rivals. He was opposed by an older man in a yellow shirt and a second man clad in camouflage print pants, who was holding a gun during the initial stages of the conflict. As tensions escalated, the former inched his way towards the accuser and struck him in the head with a wooden plank, causing him to stagger, stumble backwards and drop to the ground. Women were heard pleading with the men to stop in the clip's audio. While bent on one knee, the theft accuser told the man who'd struck him, "You're going to prison for that," before getting back to his feet, with blood dripping on his white shirt, and lunging towards the man holding the pistol. In the moments that followed, the latter abandoned his firearm and retrieved a shovel. The injured man continued threatening the others before grabbing his crotch and insulting them. The shovel wielder then delivered a hit which the man deflected with his arm. The former yelled, "I'll kill you," before hitting him in the head. Once again, the man was sent stumbling backwards and, still dazed from the blow, got into his pickup truck. As he attempted to drive off, he rammed his vehicle into a truck on the property owned by the man in camouflage pants. In retaliation, the latter raised the shovel in the air and struck the pickup on the driver's side window, shattering it. The pickup then sped away from the property before the video cut off. Justin Lee Hendrick, who posted the video to his Facebook account, offered a backstory to the incident, writing, "Old boy that's leaking had his side-by-side stolen 2 years ago, and found out that it was at these two guys' house. A woman in the comments believed to have been at the scene claimed that the pickup driver wasn't there for an ATV, but to bully his way into a home from which he'd been evicted, calling him a scam artist, liar, and cheat." The viral clip earned nearly 1 million views by late August of 2023. Commenters had mixed reactions to it, but one user underlined the situation's ridiculousness by writing that they didn't know who was dumber, the duo for repeatedly striking the man or the man for relentlessly provoking them. Number 3. Mark Wack. A Florida man was taken into the custody of Palm City police in the fall of 2011 after he shot a lawnmower and got into a fight with his 18-year-old son. While inebriated, Mark Wack opened fire at the lawnmower and afterwards argued with his son, who wrestled the handgun away from him. 43-year-old Wack returned with a 12-gauge shotgun, which the teenager was able to remove from him as well, leading to a physical altercation. The two fighting men were spotted by a passing patrol car. The officers got out and ordered Wack to get off his son, but were ignored. They had to shoot the man with the taser 3 times before they could take him into custody. The teen was unhurt in the fight and refused to press charges. While he was being processed at the Martin County Jail, Wack asked the authorities what was his crime, as he claimed that he regularly fired the gun in his yard, and regarding the confrontation with his son, noted, "Fighting is what rednecks do." He was charged with aggravated domestic assault with a firearm and domestic battery. Number 2. Joshua Lee Jolin. The term redneck traces its origins to 1830 and was initially used to describe poor white farmers from the deep south of the US. Its literal meaning is based on the fact that working in the field would entail being exposed to the sun and thus having the skin on the back of the neck burnt red. Through the years, the word came to be used as a slur towards impoverished white people, implying they were crass and unsophisticated. However, many of those at whom it would be aimed, particularly in the South, came to either humorously or proudly embrace the term and its associated lifestyle, defining it as a form of independence from the rest of the US. For one Texas man, being a redneck was exalted to the point of religion. 20-year-old Joshua Lee Jolin was arrested in February of 2011 in Manatee County, Florida, for engaging in a lewd and lascivious act with a minor. The victim, believed to have been in her teens, informed her parents, who consequently alerted law enforcement. Jolin was taken into custody by the Bradenton Police Department. They then asked for his details, and under religion, Jolin simply wrote redneck. The man, who was held in jail in lieu of a $10,000 bond, attracted considerable media attention in the aftermath, with a number of commenters jokingly proposing what the foundation of his religion entailed. Number 1. Redneck Rave. In mid-June of 2021, tens of thousands gathered for a 5-day festival called Redneck Rave, which took place on private land in the small town of Mammoth Cave, 90 miles south of Louisville, Kentucky. The festival was touted to ensure mud, music, and mayhem for ticket buyers. Many of them brought their side-by-side vehicles with photos and videos showing them driving through rough and muddy terrain. The festival was marketed by organizer Justin Stowers as America's wildest and craziest country party, and it arguably lived up to the title. By the end of the festival, at least 48 people were charged in connection to incidents that ranged from drunk driving and other road-related offenses to drug trafficking and felony assault. Those arrested hailed from Kentucky, Michigan, Indiana, Missouri, and Tennessee. Most of the people in attendance were highly intoxicated, and dozens had to be treated for injuries that included lacerations, broken bones, and severed fingers, all because they'd fallen ill from drinking too much. The most talked about accident was a man getting impaled on a log. He'd driven over it in his side-by-side vehicle, and the sharp piece of wood broke through the floorboard, stabbed him through the abdomen, and stopped in a metal plate behind his seat. The man who survived the brutal injury was airlifted from the scene with the log still embedded in his abdomen. Among the reported violent incidents was a man who suffered a slit throat after getting into a drunken brawl with a friend. Another festival attendee, 29-year-old Lancer Hodges, strangled a woman until she passed out after they'd gotten into an argument over a blanket. The woman was left with finger marks behind her ears and scratches on her neck. Hodges fled into the woods but was eventually arrested and charged with strangulation, wanton endangerment, and 4th-degree domestic violent assault. Edmonson County Sheriff Shane Doyle commented on the chaos in the aftermath and said, "There were so many intoxicated people, we just decided if dispatch sends an ambulance in, we're sending a deputy in with them." Organizer Stowers described the festival, which was set for a second installment in the fall, as the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life, and thanked the authorities for working with the staff to ensure the event's smooth running. The October edition of the Redneck Rave, which was profiled by Vice in a YouTube documentary, was arguably tamer, and as confirmed by Doyle in the documentary, fewer troublesome incidents were reported. Still, the event resulted in what the sheriff described as the biggest drug bust in the department's history, estimating that they'd seized roughly 75 pounds of marijuana. Thanks for watching. Would you report your own mother to the police if you knew she killed someone in a fit of rage? Let us know in the comment section below.